Hello everyone, your absurdist academic here, and today I'm pretty much just gonna kind of go on a little rant here, because I considered typing something up, making a little blog entry or something like that, and really I think it'd just be easier if I sort of rambled on a little bit, if I didn't do that enough already. And of course the topic today will be women's reproductive rights in general, which seems kind of like a silly thing because you think that should be a given, or you would think that should be a given, but we'll kind of get into the controversy on that for a sec. But before I go on, I gotta say, I'm not pro-choice, I'm not pro-life. Figured out this today, I'm pro-abortion. Because for the longest time I always said, and you'll hear this from almost everyone on the pro-choice side, I don't support getting abortions, but I support a woman's right to it. Which makes sense, that's where we get the name from. It's your choice to get an abortion should you ever need one. Hardly you would say you would ever want one, but if the circumstances are compelling enough, you will get one. And I realized today, because I read this from a blog too, and it made sense to me, that it doesn't matter. No one has to reason to me of all people, part of the 50% that don't have a vagina, and God, I hope we'll never ever be able to have kids, or at least physically. Anyway, it doesn't need to be explained to me. It's an entirely personal choice. Your decision to have a child doesn't need to be explained to me. And there are bad parents. And I'm not trying to compare having an abortion to being a bad parent. Completely different story. But my point is, having an abortion is an incredibly emotionally straining experience. It's an incredibly hard decision. And I trust people's decision-making skills to do that. Will everyone make the right decision for that? Nah, probably not. But it's not for me to tell them. It's their personal choice. And let's be honest here. It's not life, okay? This is really kind of the core of what I want to get at real quick. There's belief and there's fact. A fact is, my shirt is red. You can't see me right now, but you're going to take my word for it, I hope. Or, something more general, the sky, as we perceive it, is blue. I think that's fair. But a belief is that life starts at conception, or life is formed within the womb, is a fact. I think that's agreed upon. Okay, so there we go. We have belief, it's formed at conception, and we have a fact, it's formed in the womb. You can see how they aren't contradictory, really. They're both along the same lines. They both take place within the same kind of process. But you can see that compelling difference where one is simply about the process, life is formed in the womb, whereas the other is about a specific point. Life is formed at conception, and not just at a specific point, but at a specific point to prevent you from doing something. And again, it just kind of blows my mind because we look at this a lot like people are dying to get abortions. Like I said, I don't think there's anyone in the world who wants to get an abortion. No, if you're getting an abortion, clearly something went wrong. You were not planning to have a child. Abortion, for all intents and purposes, is a last resort kind of thing. But we need to not treat it like that. We need to not treat it like the last hope, the last thing. You need to exhaust all options. If someone wants to get an abortion, our goal as a society should be to make it as painless and as emotionally untrying as possible. We should help these people. It's our duty. I mean, you want to talk about civic engagement? You want to talk about societal responsibilities? Let's talk about the common person. I don't give two fucks about what you think is right and wrong. I care about what that person's going through. I care about what people actually do. Because this isn't a moral problem. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, so you'll have to forgive me. But like I said, this is going to be a ramble. I don't give two shits about your moral convictions when it comes to another person. I mean, just think about some of the legislation that's been passed. And this is real. This is the scary part. This is real. I believe it's in Texas, and it may be in other places too, or there may, I at least know it has been passed in Texas in some form, where they basically have to take a rod, I guess you could say, and place it within a woman's vagina who's planning to get an abortion to get a, God, I'm forgetting the word, I guess like a sonograph, something like that. I'm sure someone can correct me on the word. I'm kind of doing this with no notes, it's all from memory, so you'll have to forgive me. But just think about that. Like, I don't want to go too much on the fact that it's vaginally inserted, because it's kind of like fear-mongering and just going on, ooh, the symbolism. But it really is crazy that there are much better ways to do this. You know, you can do it externally. It's the fact that you actually have to insert it, you know. And I guess the point is that it's not available in all situations. You know, if you're in the first trimester, you probably can't do it externally. But that leads to the next point, that it shouldn't have to fucking happen in the fucking first place. I mean, this really impassions me and really pisses me off, that this has nothing to do with any sort of secular, scientific, non-religious based ideas. This is entirely based on someone's specific religious orientation. And of course, what they're always going to go with is the freedom of religion. Well, you know, here is my belief. I have the right to exercise that belief. What they don't ever talk about, and I'm not trying to say all religious people. Some of my best friends are incredibly religious. They are very, very committed to their faith, and they are wonderful thinkers. They don't agree with me on every issue, but they definitely think about it, and that's the difference. These people are not fucking thinking about it. It takes 2 fucking seconds to think about this and go, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. Why the fuck did we do this in the first place? And I apologize for the explicits, but it is necessary, because a lot of this has been welled up inside me for a while, and I try not to post in public too much, or at least on things like Facebook, where a lot of people who I know will see it. You know, I don't want to step on anyone's toes in that sense. You know, I don't want people to think I'm directly attacking them, but I'm going to attack the action and the actions you're taking against people. So it is just absolutely asinine and insane to me that you're going to force someone to go through this incredibly humiliating and emotionally trying process on top of what can already be a humiliating and trying process for no purpose. That's the kicker. That's the goddamn kicker. There is no purpose. The only purpose is to force them to go along with your beliefs. It doesn't matter if their beliefs don't coincide with yours, because your religious freedom is protected. Your religious freedom says you can pursue whatever you want, and apparently religious freedom means enforcing your beliefs on other people. It doesn't matter what they believe, it only matters what you believe. It only matters protecting your beliefs. That's bullshit. That is 110% verified bullshit. Now, of course the Constitution can be interpreted in any number of ways, but generally speaking, I think in the 21st century, we can all goddamn agree upon that if it's not how it is now, it at least should be that the freedom of religion covers both belief and non-belief. And I'm not even talking about atheism. I'm simply talking about the belief not to believe in what everyone else believes. You don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be a Hindu, you don't have to be a Muslim, you don't have to be a Judaic follower. Person. Right. Anyway, my point is, if you are committed to specifically one belief, that ostensibly means you don't believe in other things. That's a part of religious freedom. Religious freedom means just as much belief as it does non-belief, or at least not following those other beliefs. So it's just crazy that they're going to force this on other people, and then claim that it's going to be because of religious freedom. And I'm not and let me back up, though. I want to give both sides. No, I don't. Actually, no, fuck that. I don't care about giving both sides of the argument, because this is completely insane. It doesn't matter how good an argument you give to me, this simply will not do. Like I said, if for no other reason than it's an entirely personal choice, it's an emotionally trying experience, it's something that does not harm any people. You know, and again, let's be honest here. So, a child that hasn't even reached the second semester, I say child loosely here, is not a person. It's what will become a person, but it's like trying to equate a seed with a grown fucking tree. They're different. They have different makeups. One has the potential for life, one is life. One's at a late stage, one has already been formed. And which are you going to really worry about? You know, that's the nutty part. Because when we look at it, there's so much tragedy going on in the world today. There's so many terrible things going on. There's poverty, there's war, there's famine, there's all sorts of societal injustices. And what we're going to worry about is some petty fucking issue over quote-unquote religious freedom about whether a woman or not has the choice to terminate a pregnancy she didn't want in the first place. And then these tend to be, because again, I'm not going to blame anyone here, or I'm not going to try and overgeneralize, but they tend to be the same people who then complain about welfare. Again, this is from an economist's perspective, but it really doesn't take that much logical thinking to figure this one out. But when people who have babies that they didn't want, probably the reason they don't want a baby is because they financially can't support them. I mean, think about it. I would love to have a child, but I know I financially can't support one right now. Maybe in 5-10 years I'll have a child when I have a job, I'm out of college, I'm feeling good, I got all that. But if I did have a child, I would probably have to go on welfare. I would probably have to find ways around it. That's a drain on society. When you allow for abortions and other forms of contraception, which we'll get to soon, don't you worry, then you stop that drain on society. It's the magic, it's the magic fix, but somehow they want it all. And this is what my big problem with belief is because when you try and put it in a factual, and like I said before, secular and scientific setting, it doesn't hold up. It simply flies in the face of reality. That is the point of belief. It does not matter what reality is, it is your belief. And that's fine. But when you try to apply it to others, and you try to apply it to a scientific setting, it doesn't work. And here's some other nutty stuff that has ostensibly been happening with the abortion legislation in Texas recently. That they also have to read off this list of, get this, health risks associated with abortion. Fair enough. I mean, I would be 100% behind that, regardless of what it is. I support getting abortions, but you should definitely know what you're getting into. Only problem is, they've all been disproven. Think about that too. Again, I'm going to probably be repeating myself so much here, but it just bothers me so much, and I really need to hammer this point home, that this legislation is forcing medical personnel, because I need to say medical personnel, because I don't know if it's nurses, doctors, just people, who are there who are not actually trained to be within the medical sphere, but are still, helping out as staff. So whatever the point is, sorry about that, I had to adjust my microphone. But the point is, they're giving this to medical personnel, who people go to for, medical advisory things, to lie about things. They have to say you have an increased chance of breast cancer, you have an increased chance of psychological trauma, anything like that. The nutty thing is, if you just do the quickest Google search, the lightest search, you will get so many results, all talking about how this is complete bullshit. It's been debunked by every kind of association out there, except for the ones that are typically not right-leaning, because that's not fair to generalize that way, but are either religiously affiliated or are looking for that kind of thing. They're pro-life campaigns. It's well, of course you're going to find that. It doesn't matter what the truth is. If you're looking for specific results, you are going to find them. You're not having a real study. So anyway, that's just crazy to me that the vaginal, like I said, I'm calling it a sonograph, but I'm sure it's not that. The lying, the waiting period, stressing it out so much, and it keeps going on too. I'm trying to defund Planned Parenthood. I saw a nutty graph that someone posted. I just hit my microphone again. I apologize to all the deaf people out there now. But anyway, I saw a nutty graph where, someone posted it. I'll try not to get into too many specifics because I don't, if this person watches it, don't want them to get mad at me. But regardless, they posted a graph, and I'm not blaming them, I'm blaming the organization that did this, that said 97% of Planned Parenthood services for pregnant women are abortions. And this is why I won't support them. That seemed a little weird. I'm 97% is a very high number. I would think they do other things. So sure enough, they posted the source, and it was Planned Parenthood's results. I'm okay, that's fair enough. That's very legit. They actually went to the source of what they were doing. It's not like they conducted their own study or something. They went to the source. So I was happy with that. And sure enough, Planned Parenthood had its own graph about services they provide. And wouldn't you know it, abortions were about 3% of the services. So I was well, how did they get it backwards? How did they say 97% are services? Then I started to get to thinking. This is the terrible thing about information in the media age. It is so easy to manipulate things and technically have it true. It's just that you're not giving the full story. Because they didn't say how they define pregnancy services. You could say, we're restricting pregnancy services only to abortions and contraception. Well, there you go. If they only are doing that, of course the abortion is going to be overstated. You're not looking at the other pregnancy services that they serve. The tiny portion of abortions, comparatively, that Planned Parenthood does, was insane to me. And so, of course, you have all the other controversies with, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, withdrawing their funding. Thankfully, it seemed like they kind of worked that out. And even though you could tell it's just a bullshit PR move,